Welcome back. Today's topic, a bit critical, controversial, populism. It can be defined against the elites or in favor of people who are not in favor of elites or not falling in elites. In easy way, you can define it people who are against the ruling on the minorities. Minorities not in terms of numbers, minorities in terms of less resources and having less access to money and everyday accessories. Now, a lot of people say that it is also used by elites. Why? In terms of democracy, people who are ruling on the common people, they are also elites, but they frame it in a way in favor of people. For example, a politician will come out and will say that, okay, I'm in favor of common people because these elites are not working good for the people. But he or she himself is an elite. Here, I've just recently attended a seminar on populism where I happened to just hear very famous people giving their views, some of the politicians, some philosophers, writers, giving their views on populism, and I've written down some notes. So I would like to share that with you. So some of them said that based on their view, they said populism is a criticality on elites. But do you think criticizing elite is the way forward? In my view, both things are equally important, the regular class and elite class. To run a society, both the things are equally important. Nothing can be equally distributed. To run a society, you have to understand both the parties, elite and minorities, are equally important. Otherwise, there will be an imbalance in the whole society, and that cannot exist. That's a utopia. And utopia is an ideal world, so we cannot exist that way. That means people who play the card of populism or criticizing the elite, they themselves are playing with your minds. So let's dive into the points. So one view is that populism is another form of democracy. Why? Because the democratic leaders, they themselves are elites. So how can they criticize? They're not living a life of common person. They are blaming other elites as a competitive person. Mean they are in comparison or fighting against other elites to make their power stronger. That means people who propagate populism, in a way, they play with your emotions as well. That's a very rare point you have to understand. People who represent populism or they criticize elite, they are playing with your emotions as well because they are also elite. So they're fighting with each other for their own powers or their own agendas. That's why you have to be very careful on it. The next point. Populism, key to populism, is attached to people emotions. Most of the things people buy or even hear is based on their emotions. They are buying your emotions because as a middle class or a lower class, people love to hear against the elite class. That's an emotional thing because when people are deprived of something, we love to hear about the opposite party or against the opposite party. So we start blaming the elite. We should think in a very pragmatic way, in a positive way, that both the things are equally important and elite is not bad. I believe, in my personal opinion, both the parties are good enough and they should exist equally. The middle class families, lower class families, whatever puts in the effort, they grow in the hierarchy in the society. So that's a false notion where we say, okay, elites are getting elite and middle class is getting poorer. No. If you bring value to the society, you bring yourself up in the ladder. And then you will be the one being criticized once you just grow or just tap yourself on top of the ladder. If you are a middle class person right now and next day or after a couple of years or few years of effort, you become an elite class, what happens? People will start criticizing you. So what does that make you? Are you a bad person who worked yourself harder to the top? No, you have to understand. That's why it is very, very important point to understand that people are playing with your emotions. That's another view. That populism is a way of playing with your emotions because people who represent populism, they're also elite. Very few people from the lower class are going to criticize elite. Next point is that it is to distract voters for populism. So again, it is a representation of politics. So people who represent, they are diverting you from the real issues and playing with your emotions. So they can manipulate the voting structure against your own will without you knowing it. So they can be in the power and they can use the same perks that the elite is enjoying that they are criticizing. So imagine elite playing against elite using your emotions. People playing against each other on the top using your emotions. That's funny, literally. The next points. So, populism claims to represent the ordinary majority against elites. But actually, is it true or false? So, again, are we representing commons against the elite through populism, or it's just a myth? You have to analyze. Next part, it's not representation, it is simplification. Society is not one group with one will. Again, even in the middle class, in the upper middle class, in the lower class, in every class, you will have people who represent different views. So, how can you represent everyone from lower class to middle class, upper middle class with one view? So that means populism is still not defining everyone or representing everyone in each class or the lower strata. So you have to understand, open your mind. Then when someone is selling you this dream or false notion of populism against elite, they are playing against you. They are playing against your emotions. So you have to be rational. Please open up your mind. Ask the logics. So next point, is it a way of strengthening democracy or distorting it? Because what is democracy? Representing common people. That means kind of a populism. Yeah, means representing the lower class against the elite class. That's what we call democracy, because majority of the people are not elite. So what represents a government? Common people, lower strata people. That what defines the idealistically. Realistically, no, that doesn't happen. You know that. I know that. Idealistically, lower class and middle class are representing a government because they decide with their votes. So is it the reality or is it a distortion of reality? What happens behind the scene? Because people representing, they are from the elite side. So are they protecting each other, showing us that they're against each other, but they're actually with each other? Or are they representing us? So that we have to ask us, ourselves. No one can answer that. Next part. The point of populism is that institutions can become unaccountable. Populism restores direct control. The definition of populism defines that it will make institution, if we don't exist, if the populism doesn't exist, the institution will be unaccountable. Means you have to ask the institutions that they are held accountable for their actions, for their promises. Otherwise, they can do whatever they want. That's why populism is important, to criticize them. But on the other hand, one notion is that if we don't show trust on the institutions or the elite who are running the institutions, how can we define or let them work for our own benefit? The trust factor is the most important factor in running any institution. That is why always criticizing institute or elite is not going to benefit our society, not you, not me. That's the reason I'm in the notion that both things should exist equally. Not everyone can be going into elite side. Not everyone can be into moderate side or lower strata. Every strata exists and should exist in a society. That's a harsh reality, I know. Maybe lower strata people will say that, why are you saying that we should exist? No, we all have to exist in our stages. Otherwise, the society will perish. Okay, society will not exist then. We will be distorted. You have to understand that. There is a reason all these layers are there. Next part. Emotional politics. Is populism driven by emotions than policy? Again, the same point. Yes, I will keep it short, this question, that yes, populism is 80% emotion based. They play against your emotion, on your emotions when they are dictating something in the form of populism. But 20% is policy based. And that policy is also in favor of the institutions. That's the reality. Secondly, Why do populist movements often center around one strong leader? That's a very good point. If you see some parties talking about populism or against the elites, you will see that there will be one character who is like a charismatic factor, and around that, the whole policy will just be staggering around. What happens when people hear something about a bad about the elites? There is one strange person that will be talking and shouting, and you will love that person talking about that. He's talking against the elite, against the institution. That means he's in the favor of the middle class or lower class. That's why, and he's like a messiah. So we love that, because again, that covers a part of your emotions. That's human psychology, that you love that part. You want to hear one person and make him a hero or her a hero, like he is a person representing me or myself. It's not that person. It becomes you. That personality becomes the representation of you. So you see your emotions in that leader. That's why always there will be one person. The whole party does not count. There can be many members in a party, but there will always be one person that will be dictating you against the elite. That's the point you have to focus on. Whenever you are going around populism, you will see one person representing as a messiah, and you'll be making yourself a fool. I'm not saying it is not bad, it is bad or good. I'm saying that's the reality that we fall into. Next part. Is the will of people ever truly unified or always manufactured? Through populism. Your will is manufactured, not unified. 90% of the time, whatever a person is doing through populism or through representation of populism, I'm giving my view. It can be wrong. But my view is you are manufactured. I am manufactured. From the time we were born, we were shown certain news, we were shown certain era, certain pathways, and certain people are representing that. Even some of the leaders we've been hearing for last 20 years, 30 years, same leaders, same being, same part, but no extension of their views even. They haven't grown out, but we've been dictated by the same view. A lot of good leaders are there. They have represented, grown out as well, in fact, out of their own shell. And that's the beauty of growth of human nature. But most of the other people who represent certain kind of populism, they are in the same shell and they are dictating our mindset. Even with the growth of society, we have not grown. Why? Because they are manufacturing us. They are manufacturing us. And we don't want to grow because that's our comfort zone, our comfort shell. And we love that as humans. Is calling someone anti-elite a truth or just a political weapon? Again, calling someone anti-elite or calling elite bad is just, I believe it's an emotional factor, because all of us want to grow. All of us want to grow next level. And when someone is at the next level, we can't reach that level, we love to hear against them. We love others to hear against them. We see a justification of our own inner emotions. Because we see our jealousy, our less hard work, our less efforts in terms of mental capacity and intellectual. Hard work doesn't mean the physical labor, mental capacity and implementation in the society and the effects on the society. We see the jealousy factor coming out from the mouth of other people. And that's why we support populism. Most of the time, it's not because of the rational decisions or logics. Most of the time, you, me, everyone will be deciding and talking about the elite just because we are incapable of something. That's why we just bring out our negative factors, or we see our negative factors through the mouth and emotions of others in terms of populism. So we start blaming elite. So populism should be existing in terms of creating a balance and accountability, just to that level. Apart from that or away from that, as soon as we deviate from that level of accountability only, we are using something for our own personal agenda. That's what you have to understand. So maybe populism isn't good or bad. Let's see. Maybe it's just democracy under pressure. Yes, that was a point given in the event, that it's a democracy under pressure. Means people are putting pressure on the other elite. But another thing you have to understand, that whoever is representing democracy, they're also elite now. So that means, again, coming back to the first point I made there, it's elite against the elite. Is it for us or for them? just fighting for their own wishes. So what's happening is middle class and lower class, they're making themselves fool by thinking that, okay, everyone is representing us. No, it doesn't happen in the real world. There is no utopia. So please start coming out of that zone so you can understand better. Yeah. So can we survive trusting both the elite and the populism? Can we survive that way? And that's a question that even I can't answer, even you can't answer. If someone says yes, that's again a utopia. What you have to do is you have to understand, you have to learn that we have to create a balance. It's a human world and we are all full of mistakes and illogical rationalities. So what happens? You have to understand not all the elites are bad, not all the populists are bad. You have to find a way where you can find peace with yourself and you can expect that both of the sides have to exist or coexist together. Only then a balanced society exists. Thank you very much.